What's going on, folks? Thank you for joining me for another episode of GW Recap. As you know, I'm your host, Carter Dudley Jr. and George Washington. They put up a fight. They did. They rallied. They rallied late, but the rally fell short. Um, Rallied back from 16 points down, but they fell just short in an 84-79 loss to Davidson. And in a very momentum heavy game, to say the least. GW was led by Rafael Castro, put up a monster double double, 23 points and 16 rebounds. Garrett Johnson with 18 points, and Christian Jones added 16 points and 3 steals and 3 assists. Davidson was led by Robert Malone, 21 points and 6 rebounds. Denver Brown, 17 points, 3 rebounds, and 3 assists. And Parker Frederickson with 14 points and 6 assists. Um, there's no other way to quite put it other than, um, GW. They got off to I like to say a flat start. They wasn't really, um, the energy wasn't there on the defensive end, even though they held an 8-5 lead early. Um, Over on Davidson, but then Davidson, and this is what I mean by they were flat defensively. Davidson responded to GW's 8-5 lead to open the game with a 21-5 run, excuse me, led by sophomore guard Robert Blums, who scored 12 points in that during that run on full shooting for deep to give the Wildcats a 24-11 lead at the 10:38 mark. He was unconscious in the first half. They kept leaving him, and he kept burning them time and time again. And he was different. He was literally the reason why they built that 21-5 lead. Those threes. It seemed like they just came within 30, 30 to 40 seconds of one another. Man, they would just get a stop, come down. He was found open, and he was just torching everyone, from deep. And you know, after that, it was a dogfight. They was it was an uphill climb for GW. There's no other way of putting it. Um, they did follow that with the A1 run for them. Christian Jones was attacking Davidson off the bounce. They really couldn't guard him off the bounce. Um, he went 3 for 3 in that span when they followed that with an 8-1 run. I wish, honestly, I wish Christian Jones would have been a little bit more aggressive because they really couldn't guard him. They couldn't keep him in front of him. He had his way. He was either too strong for him or too shifty. But his natural instinct is to be a floor general. So yeah, when they were down big, he got aggressive. But once GW kind of found a rhythm and started scoring, then he started facilitating. Garrett Johnson jumper brought GW within 7, 26-19. But they wouldn't really get any closer. It was just a back and forth affair until the first half ended. And GW went in the half trailing Davidson 36-28. The difference in the first half was simple: 3-point shooting. In the first half, GW shot 14% from deep. Davidson shot 46.7% from deep. It's as simple as that. And Blum was the catalyst behind that. At the half, GW was led by Rafael Castro, who had 10 points, 8 rebounds, nearly a double-double in the first half. Christian Jones had 9 points, which is why I felt he should have been more aggressive because he really had it going, attacking the paint. And then Garrett Johnson, added 4 points off the bench. Davidson was led by Robert Blums, 12 points, 4 rebounds on 4-6 from deep. Devin Brown added 11 points and 3 rebounds, and Josh Scovins was putting together all around impact with 5 points, 4 rebounds, 3 assists. Also, bench points. Davidson reserves outscored GW in the first half 17-6. So 3-point shooting and reserve scoring was the difference in the first half. Now in the second half, when the second half began, um, It was back-to-back 3-pointers from Parker Frederickson, capped a 9-0 run by Davidson to give them a 47-31 lead at the 17:39 mark in the second half. So, yes, Davidson started the second half on a 9-0 run to build on that halftime lead. And GW at 17:30 mark, so 39 mark, found themselves down 16 out the gate out of halftime, which wasn't ideal. And then it didn't really stop. They kept going. Devin Brown dunked to gave Davidson a 51-34 lead at the 15:40 mark. So it was just them kind of just holding steady with that lead. And then Garrett Johnson, Trey Dinkins woke up. They had back-to-back threes to bring GW within 10, 57-47 at the 11:41 mark. Josh Gomez layup put Davidson up 73-56 with 5:36 left to play. Then scramble on a loose ball led to a wide open Robert Blum's 3-pointer, which was his 6th 3-pointer of the game, to put Davidson up 76-63 after a 7-0 run from GW after they battled back with a 7-0 run. And Davidson had a 76-63 lead at the 3:51 mark. So it looked like at that point, all right, Davidson was pretty much about to just, this is their night. It is what it is. And you start to see people start to leave. And then quickly, back-to-back threes from Trey Autry and Christian Jones brought GW within 9, 78-69 with 2:20 left. Then Garrett Johnson drove, and his free throws got GW within 5, 78-73, 109 left in the game. Now we have a ball game. So obviously, GW sensing that they had momentum, which they did, and they're sensing that, they have a shot at, trying to mount this comeback. And, you know what I mean? Garrett, look, Garrett Johnson was big in the second half down the stretch. I believe, he scored 14 of his 18 points in the second half, but most of that came later in the second half when they was on that run, when they was building their momentum and their run to get back in the game. And a lot of it came from defensive pressure. Just like in the first half, I failed to mention that Davidson built their lead. It wasn't just their high shooting. They were mixing up defenses. They was sitting back one play, traditional half court, guard your man, guard your matchup. The next thing you know, GW come down and they were in the 1-3-1, then the 2-3. And they were just mixing it up, and it was throwing GW off at times. So smart tactic, and that kind of stymied their offense, even though Davidson was hitting everything in sight, especially from deep, man. So, that's where we at. So after Garrett Johnson free throws brought GW within 5, 78-73 with 109 left. Davidson went to the lineup. They went 1-2, so they led 79-73 with about 50 seconds left. Next thing you know, this happened. Trey Dinkins brought the ball up, fadeaway 3, brings GW within 3, 79-76 with 42.7 seconds left. So now it's real. So now it's like, okay, cool. GW, they felt like they had a chance. And then next thing you know, Davidson. They took advantage of GW kind of being a little too happy at that point. They found Sean Logan running the floor for the game sealing dunk, and then that was all she wrote. You know what I mean? It was to be honest, that was it. GW kind of hit some free throws. They played the foul game, but they never really got close again. And then they were able to pull it out. It's unfortunate. And a lot of it, look, Davidson played a hell of a game. There's nothing to take away from from Davidson. I mean, when that's and that's the beauty of the game, especially in this league in A10. You got to come ready to play every game. Like if you don't, you can get beat by a team that's struggling. It's no nights off, and you know that's what GW had. They just had too many mistakes, too many lapses, especially defensively. They were too flat. They kept losing open shooters, even after guys showed that they can hit shots, and it burned them. It burned them, and obviously Davidson was up and playing the free throw game. Davidson was able to hit their free throws and hold off the GW rally to pull out the 84-79 win. For the look, Davidson shot a ridiculous 56% from deep for the game, including 70% in the second half. While GW shot 28% from deep for the game. It's just too wide of a gap to overcome that, and this is why I say, yes, Davidson played. They shot the hell out of the ball. They played a savvy game, but GW more so got in their own way. Because when you allow a team to shoot 70% in the second half, 56% from deep overall, you shoot 28%, and you only lose by 5. That's a game that was you were capable. It was capable of them winning. They were very capable, and they beat themselves in a lot of ways. Missed free throws. They shot 57% from the line. GW did 12 or 21. 40% from the field. Meanwhile, Davidson shot 51% from the field to go along with their 56% from deep. And Davidson didn't shoot well from the free throw line. They shot 51%. So, but it didn't matter. They shot so well from the field. They made up for it. Neither team really turned the ball over that much. Davidson turned it over 11. George Washington was damn near flawless. They only turned it over 5 times, but again, you got to make shots, and they didn't make enough shots from deep to counteract with how hot Davidson was, and also defensively, man. You got to know who you're dealing with, man. You gotta run them off the line and slow down the shooters. And GW way too many times, especially in the first half, they just kept losing track of the shooters, and they paid the price. They paid dearly for it. So. Look, man, GW, I believe they fall to 12-6. Yeah, they fall to 12-6 on the season, 3-2 in A10 play, and their next game will be a big one, crosstown rivalry. They face 17-1 George Mason Monday, January 19th at 5 p.m. First place George Mason, man. So that's always the spirit of the game, no matter what the records are. Rivalry, they go back decades, so it's going to be interesting to see how GW try to bounce back on the road against George Mason, man. So we shall see very soon, man. But I thank y'all for joining me. Again, GW, they fall to Davidson, 84-79. Talk to you guys later.